This is the Lenovo Legion GO 2 versus the Steam Deck OLED. Which one is the better of the two handhelds? So in today's video, I wanted to compare the new Lenovo Legion GO 2, which on paper is an incredible handheld, probably the best one you can get out there on the market, versus our trusty Steam Deck OLED that has been out for some time now, but it's still, for many, the go-to handheld out there on the market. So there are a lot of similarities, but also huge differences between the two. The Lenovo Legion GO 2 has a new design with a little bit more streamlined profile that just fits much better in hand. But it is on the heavier side when compared to something like the Steam Deck OLED. The Steam Deck OLED is definitely the lighter of the two when compared side by side. Even holding them like this, I can definitely feel how much lighter the Steam Deck OLED is, which could be a great benefit in the long term if you're holding it for too long. In terms of just the grips, I would say they're about the same. I do prefer the way that the Steam Deck is, so the comfort. As you can see, the grips here are really nice for your hand with two extra buttons on the back if you wanted to. We also have the exhaust vents on the top. Overall, really nice, lightweight construction, just feels great in hand, and when you hold it like this, your thumbs are naturally where you would like them to be, so this feels great with two touch pads on the sides, which are phenomenal when you use them. So when you need the touchpad for a mouse, these are really good, and overall just this feels super nice in hand. Everything is pretty solid while still being super lightweight. And the speakers are on the side, so the speakers sound pretty good. And by no means they're not the best, but because they're front-facing speakers, they are going to use. So it's like a nice stereo setup. The Lenovo, on the other hand, has a really nice grip too. It has the back buttons too, but these are a little bit different. On this side we have two buttons, one under another, and on this side we have one by each other. So it's a little bit different. And that is because an extra mode that we have here, which we're gonna talk about in a second. Overall, this feels good in hand. I wish the controller on the right was a little bit higher, like on the Steam Deck, but overall it's a really good feeling in hand. It is on the heavier side compared to it, but it feels good. It also has the two speakers on the top, so essentially right here, between is the vent, and that is where we have the speakers. So if you're playing like this, it's going a little bit to the top, so it's not gonna sound that good in terms of, the audio being to you, but it is an improvement over the first generation, and I just wish it was going to the front. But because we have this beautiful screen here, this is the sacrifice they had to make to have that display in the front. Going from the comfort, we have to talk about the screens, because these are two beautiful OLED displays. That is pretty much where the similarities end, because both are an OLED display with beautiful colors and contrast. The colors on OLED displays are just incredible, so both these have beautiful colors, as you can see, the OLED on the Lenovo Legion GO 2 or the OLED on the Steam Deck OLED. Both have beautiful, really rich displays. But there is a difference. The Lenovo Legion GO 2 has a bigger resolution with 1920 by 1200, where this is not even a full HD because this is a 900p panel, so it's below the full HD. Not only that, the Lenovo Legion GO 2 can go up to 144 Hz with VRR versus the 90 Hz that we have on the Steam Deck OLED. Thanks to this, the games can be run at a sharper display on the Lenovo Legion GO 2. It is also the one that has more Hertz, so that means it can go to higher frame rates. You can play up to 144 Hz on it versus the 90 Hz on the Steam Deck. And also we have the VRR, so if we're playing games that are gonna be a little bit jumpy with the frame rates, the VRR can help with that, make them look smooth. So that is a nice upgrade over the Steam Deck OLED. And by all means, the Steam Deck OLED has a great screen for what it has to offer. But the Lenovo Legion GO 2 is just a class of its own with an incredible OLED display for a handheld. And it's also the bigger of the two. So if you want the biggest display, the Lenovo Legion GO 2 just has the bigger one. But the screen can be beautiful, but how do they actually perform? Because this is gonna make or break the experience here. The Steam Deck is working on its Steam OS, and you can play games that you have on this Steam library. The thing is, not all the games are going to be playable because of two reasons. Some cannot be played because of the limits per se of the Steam OS, which is running on Linux, and because of that you can play most of the games that you have on the Steam library, but those that have anti-cheat, some of them cannot be run. So plenty of games will not run on this. So for example, if you want to play Call of Duty, you cannot play it on here, but it's something like Marvel Rivals does work. So you're gonna have to really mix and match the games that actually work on it. But if you're playing indie games or AAA story games like Red Dead Redemption 2, they work perfectly fine on it. You know, the older the game, the less demanding the game is gonna run better, and you can push it to even 90 Hz. But if you're playing something like Red Dead Redemption, you're gonna have to cut out and play maybe at like 45 Hz. That is how I play Assassin's Creed Mirage on this. And you might be asking, how am I playing a Ubisoft game on Steam Store? Essentially, you can get some different launchers, like Ubisoft Connect, for example, on the Steam Deck, and that is how I can play Assassin's Creed Shadows or Assassin's Creed Mirage without having them on the Steam Store themselves. So you can play those games on here, and I've been personally playing Assassin's Creed Mirage on it at about 45 FPS. And you can actually set up the screen to 45 frames, but a 90 Hz display, and just makes it look really nice. So this can play pretty much the modern games too. It's not that it's that, you know, underpowered. It is not something super strong, but it can still play modern games. Maybe not all of them, but it's like a nice mix of AAA games from a couple of years ago and some modern games. But you're gonna have to be a little bit more cautious what you can play on it and what you cannot. The Lenovo Legion GO 2 is based on Windows 11, meaning you can pretty much throw any game you want on it and play on it, because this is pretty much like a Windows-based PC in a body of a console. So this has just a straight out Windows 11. You can use it like a PC, you can connect it to a monitor and use it like a laptop or like a stationary PC. So this is like I said, a Windows-based laptop slash PC in a body of a console. You can play Steam games, Xbox, you know, Ubisoft, anything you have on any launcher on PC, this works with it. And because this is an AMD Z2 Extreme with 32 GB of RAM, this can pretty much play all the modern games in really nice quality and settings. And because this is an OLED, it just looks stunning. So you can play pretty much any game you have on this. And while you might have to tweak some settings depending on the game, you can pretty much throw anything at it. That is how good and strong it is. I'm gonna have to give the point to the Lenovo Legion GO 2 here. It is just more compatible with different games, and its strength is that it's so strong you can play any game you want on it when compared to the Steam Deck OLED. But I'm gonna have to say that it is, you know, this is a little bit more comfortable because of the Steam OS. It just feels like a console-like experience. You can put it to sleep with one click of a button, then it's to sleep, and with one click again, the library. So you can play really quickly, you can put it to sleep, it just works like a console. This is a Windows PC essentially, so it's gonna be a little bit more finicky, a little bit more not handheld friendly, but it has its benefits too. And one more thing is the Steam Deck is more like a console. This is actually way more like a PC. And yes, the Steam Deck can be used like a stationary PC, you can go into the Linux. This feels much more like a hybrid because not only can connect it to a bigger TV or monitor, you can actually take off the controllers. And because of that, we now have a wireless controller for it. Not only that, the right controller actually can turn into a mouse. It has an optical, you know, sensors on the bottom, you have the scroll here and extra buttons on the side. So when you hold it, you have different buttons here on the side, essentially making this like a mouse that is a little bit different, but works like a mouse. So if you like playing shooting games and you wanted to use a mouse, you have it built in into the system. Or if maybe you want to just put the screen on your desk and take the controllers off, you can do that with this. So you have a little bit more usage with these two detachable controllers. Overall, these are kind of similar, but also very, very different. But there is one major last thing about the Lenovo Legion GO 2, which makes this whole comparison a little bit different. The price. Because this is priced much higher. You're paying for the best of the best, the most premium features you can get, the most power, and a really solid construction with amazing cooling and power. But this is just much cheaper, making this more affordable and more, you know, for everyone. In the price of this, you could probably get a PS5, the Steam Deck OLED, and still have money for games and accessories. So there is a big catch to this. I think this is probably one of the most expensive handhelds you can get. So if money is not a problem and you just want the best handheld you can get, I would definitely go for the Lenovo Legion GO 2. You're looking for the best, this is probably the best. But if you're looking at a little bit more like a consumer-friendly price, then the Steam Deck OLED still has a lot to give for a really good price. And like I said, you can even get a PS5 with the Steam Deck OLED for the price of the Lenovo Legion GO 2. So it really is dependent on what you need and what you're looking for. If you're looking for the best, or you're looking for something that is an extra. Essentially, I'm gonna have to leave you with that, because it is going to be really user dependent what you're looking for in a handheld, what you need from it, and how much you are willing to spend on it. With that being said, the Lenovo is a beast of a device, and the Steam Deck, is a Steam Deck. So many people love it for what it is. And just a little addition, both of them have a case in the box, but the Lenovo has a more softer case. This one is, for the Steam Deck, it's a little bit harder case, but I was surprised where the Lenovo is the bigger of the two. Actually, their cases are pretty much the same. Even I would say the Lenovo's feels a little bit smaller because it's a little bit, squishy compared to the Steam Decks. With that being said, if you have any more questions about the Lenovo or the Steam Deck, let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.